receive. I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. So I declare right here, right now, that we are easily opening ourselves to all the goodness that is ours to receive, all the goodness that has been laid aside for us, waiting for us to say, let it in, let me have it, give it to me, because I am ready, ready to receive. I am opening, I am opening, my heart is ready to receive. I am opening, I am opening, my heart is ready to receive.
Well, is everybody ready to receive?
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Susan Neat, and I'm a practitioner here at the Center. We are a loving, healing, inclusive community that teaches and practices the principles of the science of mind for the spiritual growth and well-being of ourselves and the world. And I'm going to tell a little story. One of our attendees shared with me that one of her relatives was deeply transformed by this teaching, and I invite you all to be encouraged by that, because she said she has the practices to lean back on when things come up. And that's when we say we practice the principles. That's what we do here. And how do we do that? Well, Jon is going to talk about love, love, love. Love is all there is. Is that a Beatles song?
Yes.
Anyway, during the talks, we learn practices, things that we can do that are simple, maybe not easy. Also, we have classes. We have some coming up in the new year, which is now. I will be still offering my meditations every few weeks, so keep an eye for that on the Facebook page, and Jon sends out an email. If you'd like to be on the email list and you're not, please post something on the Facebook page. Give us a private message so that we can set you up that way. Let me see. I said that Jon was this week, and next week, beloved Regina, great speaker, she'll be there. The week after that, Karen, and then after that, Reverend Frankie. I mean, are we blessed?
Yes.
We are blessed. We have so many opportunities to learn and grow and develop these practices into our body life, our soul life, our mind life. So excited. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for being here. Hit it, Reverend Rich.
Yes.
Got lost there. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken love. In the silence there's release from a world that's full of chaos and noise. So I wait in this precious moment when I hear all that never has been said. And right here in this holy silence, I find love, I find myself, I find God, I find myself. In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken love. In the silence there's release from a world that's full of chaos and noise. So I wait in this precious moment when I hear all that never has been said. And right here, in this holy silence, I find God, I find myself, I find love, I find myself.
Good morning. My name is Gary Torres. I'm a licensed practitioner here at the Center for Spiritual Living. And before we get too serious, I wanted to say a couple words about, our topic is love, and a lot of people might be thinking, oh, this is kind of an airy-fairy thing, or this is kind of, what does this really mean in real life? Well, I have a little story that has to do with what is reality and how we use it. The story goes something like this. In the 1100s, somewhere in the Far East, there was a man that had 3 sons, and he had a bunch of camels. He loved his camels. He wanted to be sure that everything went well with them, and he was about to pass away. So he made out a will, and in his will he said, my first son is going to get half of the camels. My second son is going to get 1/3 of the camels, and my third son is going to get 1/9 of the camels. But the day he passed away, he owned 17 camels. Now you figure out what half of 17 is, 1/3 of 17. We've got a little problem, because you can't keep camels healthy if you chop them up to portion them properly. So they call in their spiritual leader, and the spiritual leader thinks about this for a second, develops a headache, takes a little nap, and in his nap, he imagines that Moses comes out of the desert leading a camel. He presents the camel to the father just before he passed away. So now the father has 18 camels, and this is no problem, because he can give 9 camels to the first son, 6 camels to the second son, 2 camels to the third son, and everything works fine. And if you realize it, I just allocated 17 camels, even though there were theoretically 18 camels. So we ask ourselves little questions about reality. Was this 17th camel real or not? Well, we see the effect of it, and we have to realize that without it, you couldn't have solved this problem. So how many things are there in your life that you can't identify, that they're not material things, they're not something you can weigh, measure? They're not something that is totally obvious to the eye. What things are there that actually matter? And we know here, our teaching is that there are principles that matter. There are characteristics of the sacred that matter. So there's love, life, power, etc., that you can't really measure. Okay, you can measure the results. You can say, okay, this particular radio transmitter puts out so much power. That's not really what is happening. There's something going on under the surface. And one of the things that's interesting, by the way, is that there is an equation, a lot of equations that have to do with radioactivity. Now we're talking hard science here, that involve the quantity, the square root of -1. Now, if you know that you square a negative number, you get a positive number. You square a negative number, you get a positive number. So how do you get the square root of a negative number? Well, there's really no such thing, and the scientists will even call this an imaginary number. But if the equations that use this aren't real, then neither does radioactivity even possibly work. So here's a result of something that is intangible, and we might even not call it real. So now we come to the topic of the day, which is we're talking about love. It's very easy to say the divine characteristics, the divine attributes, the principles are kind of airy-fairy things that we sort of know exist, but we see them by the results. And this is I'll take it from, there's a line in the Bible that says, faith is the evidence of things not seen. Okay, so you could say it's not there, or it's not real, or it's some imaginary thing. It's as real as anything that we see or feel or touch now. And that's where we are. We're talking about reality, but not necessarily thinking in the box. In fact, there is no box. The box is imaginary. All right. So, yeah. Okay. So I'd like to lead us in the treatment now. There is only one. There is one life, one love, one universal truth that's everywhere, all the time, always working. We know that it's here, and we know it by its results. And those results are within each and every one that's listening. And we see those results all the time. We know this because this being, this oneness, this power, this love is within each of us and working through us. We are children of the sacred. We are children of the spiritual. And because this is true, we know that whatever appears is not necessarily real. We have heard the acronym FEAR as false evidence appearing as real. That is exactly true. And there is also true evidence that doesn't seem to appear except by its results. And this is what we're talking about now. I like this word, go to the law. I know that it's true. And I know that it's always been true and always will be. And I thank you and grateful for this. And I like this word, go to the law, saying, and so it is.
And so it is. Oh.
Can't see nothing in front of me. Can't see nothing coming up behind. Make my way through this darkness. Can't feel nothing but this chain that binds me. Lost track of how far I've gone. Far I've gone, how high I've climbed. On my back's a 60-pound stone. On my shoulder half a mile around. Come on up for the rising. Come on up, lay your hands in mine. Come on up for the rising. Come on up for the rising tonight. Left my house this morning. Bells ringing fill the air. Wearing the cross of my calling. On wheels of fire rolling down here. Said la 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 la. 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 Above and behind me, faces gone black, eyes burning bright. You made your precious blood bind me. Lord, I stand before your fiery light. I said la 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. See you, Mary, in the garden of 1,000 sighs. There's holy pictures of our children dancing in the sky filled with light. May I feel your arms around me. May I feel your blood mixing with mine. A dream of life comes to me. A catfish dancing on the end of my line. Sky of blackness and sorrow, dream of love. Sky of love, sky of tears, a dream of life. Sky of glory and sadness. Sky of mercy, sky of fear. Sky of memory and shadow, dream of love. Burning light, arms of light. Sky of hunger and emptiness. sky of fullness, sky of blessed life. La 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 la. 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 And now we have our licensed practitioner and spiritual leader, Jon Heron.
Good morning.
Morning.
Gary, thanks so much. What a great story. Love that. It made me think of, in the Gospel of Thomas, there's a place where Jesus says, he who has an ear within his ear, an eye within his eye, and a heart within his heart, truly sees. Let those who see be true. And that struck me. There are things that we don't see. Spiritual qualities aren't always perceived by our conscious mind. In fact, they're rarely perceived by our conscious minds. And the world comes at us and sometimes hits us in the face. This week was one of those weeks for me. Very honestly, we don't talk about politics here, and we're not going to talk about politics, but we do talk about what's going on with us, how we're responding to the world. And I can tell you, I was really sad this week. And I know there are lots of people who've been really angry this week, right? So what does this teaching give us to deal with that? Because if it doesn't do that, if it doesn't teach us when the difficult times come, then why are we bothering? Right? Why do we come on a Sunday morning or listen to whatever time we listen or do our spiritual practice? Why? If it doesn't make our lives better, right? So, I was thinking a lot about what our teaching says. It's pretty clear that what we teach is that everything we experience starts as thought and then out pictures. Our thought out pictures. And that's about our reaction to what the world throws at us, or brings us gently sometimes, right? We're taught in this teaching to nurture a new thought, build a new belief, knowing that that will dissolve the old belief and bring something new. There's also a discussion going on from people within our teaching that we should be more engaged in the world. We shouldn't deny our anger. We shouldn't deny, that's another way of looking at things, right? That our centers should be more engaged in the civil discourse and all that kind of stuff. And then there's the other side of it, another group saying that if we allow our anger, and as more we acknowledge it, we're just strengthening whatever belief is out picturing as the anger-inducing event, right? Whatever it is. I do not pretend that I understand those things, right? I do know, however, how the practice of this teaching has changed me. Ernest Holmes, our founder, says quite clearly everything comes from thought. But he also says, we are not the people who say peace when there is no peace, right? Very clearly, he says that. So sort of both things are there. I know for myself, I'd be going against everything I believe if I didn't search within for what belief I have that gets me upset and sad when these things happen in the world. And that's why I come here. That's why I want to be with other like-minded people to talk about these things, right? So I thought, how would I approach talking about this and the experience of this? And I just decided I'm going to talk about love, because it doesn't matter what's going on, that is always going to be true. We truly always say, and I know Reverend Karen always used to say, what you focus on expands. Basic principle of the science of mind. What you focus on expands. So if you see something expand, you can reverse that. If you see something expanding in your life, what are you focusing on? Question yourself. What are you focusing on? So we have that choice of what we focus on, and we also have the tool of being honest with ourselves and taking a look at what's showing up in our lives and how we're responding to it, and let that guide us to, ooh, maybe I'm focusing on something that doesn't support me, right? So I thought, let's focus on love, because that is never going to be wrong, right? There's no way that that's going to be wrong. So one of the things I noticed in myself after studying and practicing as teacher for teaching about 14 years, that sometimes I read stuff and I hear sayings like that, what you focus on expands. Yeah, I know what that means. Well, do I? Right? It's part of what we do as human beings. Yeah, I understand that. But is there a deeper truth there? Have I grown to the place that there's a deeper truth hidden in that saying that I'm not paying attention to? Because I'm just going, yeah, I know that, right? Or we read those books that Ernest Holmes wrote, or whoever, whatever kind of thing we're reading, and I got that. But it is a spiritual practice to stop and say, wait a minute, is there something deeper here for me? Is there a growth opportunity for me? And that's one of the things that I am really focusing on lately, I find. And what I'm suggesting for all of us, one of the ways to respond to the things that are going on, go back to the basics and ask yourself, is there something more there? Is there something that you can learn from those basic sayings that Ernest Holmes said? There's a power greater than we are, and we can use it. I understand that. Do we? Do we? And maybe we do, but maybe we're ready for a deeper understanding, and we're just not focusing on it, because what you focus on expands, right? Reverend Karen often used to say, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? Think about that. It sounds like a pretty extreme saying, but think about that. We are growing. Are we acknowledging our growth and going, what does that mean? There's a power greater than I am, and I can use it. What does that power mean? What does using it mean? So I wanted to start by reading a section from the Sermon by the Sea that Ernest Holmes gave. I think it was 1953 or something like that, right? I wanted to read this. And I'd like us all, whether you're physically here in the Masonic Temple, and by the way, you are welcome to join us here on Sunday mornings. We love being here because we are a community of people who just want to grow and learn and have better lives, right? The world is pretty challenging out there right now. Maybe not for all of us, but it is for me, I can tell you. So here's a chance for growth. Here's what Ernest Holmes says. There is a universal wholeness seeking expression through everything. We are calling it simply life. You could call it love. He's using the example of life. The religionist calls it God. The philosopher calls it reality. Life is infinite energy coupled with limitless creative imagination. Ooh, that's a statement, right? Limitless energy coupled, infinite energy coupled with limitless creative imagination. I know some of us here, actually all of us, but some of us are very specifically creative. That creative imagination is the expression of the divine in us. Do we stop? Those of us who, I'm a playwright. I know we have somebody here who's a wonderful painter, and other people, Rich is a musician, other people do other creative things. Do we stop and say, ooh, this is what it looks like to be in the presence of the divine, whatever that phrase means. Do we encourage ourselves to be more creative? Our highest satisfaction comes from a sense of conscious union with this invisible life. All human endeavor is an attempt to get back to first principles, to find such an inward wholeness that all sense of fear, doubt, and uncertainty vanishes. Okay, that's one of those phrases that we read and we just go by. Can you imagine that if you truly accepted that phrase, that all sense of fear, doubt, and uncertainty vanished from your life? That's the promise of this teaching. That's why we practice this. All sense of fear, doubt, and uncertainty vanished. Right? It's my opinion that every sentence that Ernest Holmes wrote is worth stopping and going, am I missing something here? Is there more? Right? So let's go and talk about love. We're talking about principles. What's love as a principle? I sometimes stop. Okay, we call this teaching the science of mind, right? We're trying to understand with our conscious minds, how do we respond to the world in such a way that we are lifted up by it instead of being pulled down by it, right? How do we respond? So what is love as a principle? I gathered some sayings, and what I'm going to suggest for those of us here, for those of you at home, either listening right now or maybe in the future listening to the recording, take a minute and stop and think about these things. Here are statements about love by some really great mystics. This comes from Dr. Tom Sanar, who I took some classes with, who made his transition about a year ago. He was a really good writer, and he said things in a way that makes me stop. Love is the unconditional givingness of the true self to others. Interesting things in there. Unconditional givingness. Yeah, we think we know what that means. What does that mean? Unconditional givingness of the true self to others. Sit with that for a minute. Here's another one. Love is spontaneous and impelling giving. It's such that we're impelled to give it. One of the things that comes up for me when I think of this is, it's sort of a basic part of this teaching. We're not trying to create something that isn't there. Love is there. It is everything. God knows I don't experience it that way, right? What do I need to release so that impelling giving comes up? Because it lives in me. That's our teaching. It lives in me. And if you've practiced this teaching at all, you know these things are true. Here's a couple of sayings by Rumi. Now, Rumi was a 12th century Sufi mystic, right? Long, long ago. How is it that when we read his sayings, and they're all, you can look it up, Rumi, R-U-M-I, you can look it up on the internet. He says stuff and it vibrates. It's so real. Love is the bridge between you and everything. Right? Isn't it? So I'm talking to you, you're listening to me, we're having conversations with our friends and all that stuff. Love is the bridge between you and everything. You could take that saying and sit with it for the next month and probably there's still more in there, right? And as you go through your day, bring that to mind. Are you expressing love? Are you allowing love in your communication with the world around you? Because love is the bridge between you and everything. Here's another Rumi saying, this is a subtle truth. Whatever you love, you are. Whew. That's a big one. Whatever you love, you are. That's something that you could sit with and really think about it. By the way, my experience is that's spiritual practice. Asking yourselves questions that you don't know the answers to. And sitting with it. Allowing yourself to be in that space of, I don't know what that means. But I sense that there's something really deep and valuable there. Here's a Martin Luther King saying, I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. That is pretty clear and powerful, right? That old saying that judging others is like taking poison to get back at the other person, right? Hate is too great a burden to bear. We are so called, especially right now, on being honest. There are things being said and being done that are so disturbing to me. And it would be so easy to go back and say, that guy. It's about how I'm responding to that guy, right? So here's a little thought experiment from the writings of Ernest Holmes. I'm going to read this for you. Just for a minute, bring into your mind a couple of people or animals or whatever for whom you have real affection. Do this. Yeah, think of a couple of people or beings out there that you have real affection for. Let yourself feel that affection. All right? Now, permit your imagination to include a couple of more people, a couple of more beings out there. Holding on to that feeling of affection. What is it like? You know what it's like when those people who are a part of your life that you love, what does that feel like? In your body, in your mind, in your emotions? Now, here's a question. What would your life be like if these few were multiplied so that finally everyone you meet arouses that feeling in you? Just allow yourself to imagine going around in the world, your job, your relationships, your home, with that feeling. And this is a spiritual practice, right? To arouse that feeling of affection. Even with people in front of you that your mind says, I don't like that person. Right? That feeling, and it is a spiritual practice because it's a physical feeling also, right? When we have a new kitten in our house, and oh my God, this animal is the sweetest thing in the world. And I never thought of myself as a cat person. I love my dog. This cat, and it really makes me feel good because I didn't expect to love that cat. But I love that cat. And I know what that feels like. It's almost a physical feeling, right? You can create for yourself, notice where in your body does that sit? In your arms, in your back, in your shoulder. What does it feel like to be really in a state of having affection for somebody, right? Because then when you're with those people that you don't have that affection for, you can recreate that in yourself. It needs practice. It needs practice. But imagine, let yourself imagine if you got to the space where you could do that all through your day with everyone. To bring up that sense of connection, that bridge to the other person, that feeling of affection. Right? And don't be mistaken. We here can change the world by doing that. We can bring the energy of love to the world in our little way. But we're not alone. There are people all over the country, all over the world, doing what we're doing on Sunday morning. And lots of people who are doing their spiritual practice every day. You become a center of light in the world. In the world that feels real dark, right? So you become a center of light and love for yourself, for those around you, and for the world at large. This is what the science of mind is about. Changing ourselves and changing the world. So here's another thing that Holmes continues on that same talk. It seems to me that it is only as we view all life, everything, from what we call great to what we call small, important or unimportant, it is only as we view the whole thing as one stupendous whole whose body is nature and whose soul is God. Whatever God means to you, right? Only as we view things that way that we'll really enter into communion, into sympathetic oneness and rapport with the reality of all that is about us. Right? It's not just here in this room. If wherever we go, we can bring this consciousness. That's the practice. And yeah, we use the word practice for a reason, because it takes practice, right? You're not going to get it right the first time. You're not going to get it right the 100th time. But so my experience is, it's like peeling an onion, right? That's often the analogy used in spiritual practice. It's like peeling an onion. You come to a deeper level of it. Oh, but there's still another layer of it. And maybe there is no center to the onion, I don't know. Maybe the act of peeling the onion is the presence of spirit in our lives. Right? So, let me continue what Ernest Holmes says here. Someone asked me, what do you think God is? I looked out the window and said, I think God is that tree. And there was a squirrel running up the tree, and I said, I think God is that squirrel. So, here's an opportunity. Look out that window at these wonderful trees. Can you find in yourself to just let go of whatever your concept of God is, of source, of the... That's it. Right in front of our eyes. Right? Right in front of our eyes. And again, I'll ask you the question, how would your life be different if you went through your life with that thought in mind? That right in front of you is always that which is love, that which is light, that which is all of that. This is the practice. So, from this place, I'm going to lead us in a meditation. Right? Meditation on love. I used another meditation on peace that I've done in the past. I just changed the words. But this is an opportunity for us to just We've been thinking about love. We've heard a lot of different statements. We focused on it. Now, from the silence within us, I'll just say one of the things I talked about before that Ernest Holmes says, it's in 365 Science of Mind. When we seem to be in conflict, we become still so that we may listen. All the love there is right here, right now, with me. Just let that saying stay with you for a minute. All the love there is right here, right now, with me. And so now, take a nice deep breath if you like. Just allow yourself to let go of anything that says anything other than love. Just brush it aside. Plenty of time later if you want to look at it. Love is at the center of my being. I am conscious of this love. I enter into this love. I am surrounded by this love. This love moves out from me in all directions. It calms the troubled waters of my experience. It heals everything it contacts. There is nothing but love. There is nothing but love. I rejoice in this love. I permit this love to enter my soul, to fill me with calm, to inspire me with confidence. I know that this love goes before me and makes perfect, plain, and straight my way. Breathe that in. Breathe it into the deepest place within yourself, within your body, within your mind. And I'll read one more little section from Ernest Holmes' sayings. Everything that is proclaims the glory of God. Every person who exists manifests the life of God. There is one spirit in which we live, one mind by which we think, one body of which we are a part, and one light that lights every person's pathway. Thank you.
Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Nothing you do that can't be done. Nothing you can sing that can't be sung. Nothing you can say, but you can learn how to play the game. It's easy. Nothing you can make. Nothing you can say that can't be said. Nothing you can do, but you can learn how to do. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. is all you need. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love is all you need.
And hello, it would be me again, or still me. It's that time of the service when, frankly, it's not my favorite part of the service, but it is expressing something important. It is keeping the center going. It is keeping our truth going, our principles out there to the general public, to ourselves. It's a place for us to remind ourselves of what is real in this life. And in order to do this, we occasionally need a little money. So we do not give because God needs to give, but because the giving increases, broadens, and deepens the life of the giver. Nor shall we give from the standpoint of duty. The universe refuses to bargain with us. It has already given us everything it has. But it has also provided that the gift of life can be received in its fullness only as it flows through us to the fullness of others. And I'm about to pass a basket. We'll be back with you in a moment.
Grateful, 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 oh grateful, 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 grateful for abundance, grateful for the abundance, grateful. So grateful, 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 grateful for the message, grateful for the message, grateful.
Thank you, everyone, and for those of you who have our not studio audience, the virtual audience, please remember that we are available. You can give to us online. There's a button on our website, cslprinceton.org. You can press that and donate, or you can press another button and leave a message to us that you want us to pray for something, deal with something here that for you, because we're here to serve the public. We're here to sort of this world as much as we can. Which would you like to pray us out, or shall I, someone else like to?
So right here, right now, knowing that there is only one presence, that there is only consciousness. You may call that consciousness God, you may call it the one, you may call it the infinite, but it is all there is. And there is nothing else but it. There is nothing else in it but us. We're there.
Yes.
We're moving through it. So I proclaim, I exclaim, I take my word and use it to say that this has been a wonderful meeting of the Center for Spiritual Living, Princeton. And I give thanks to that which moves us. I give thanks to that consciousness which keeps us going. And I release this treatment, and you can join me in letting it go, knowing that it has already returned, by saying, and
So it is.
all you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love, love is all you need. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love is all you Jon. Let's hear it for Jon.
What about that song from the Judds? Love can build a bridge.